You only need to know me. I will be the one.
In a recent chapter, we found out that Imu's real name is Imu Nerona. The name appears in a book from Ivankov that appears to read Genesis, and so the genesis of the current world, alluding to the Void Century and the former kings that founded the current world government. Ivankov tells us that there was once a king named Imu Nerona, and Imu is likely immortal, an ancient person, and so in a way, an ancient weapon in his own right, even if not technically an ancient weapon as defined in the story. It is Imu's potential immortality, though, that I want to discuss for this video, along with the future role of Trafalgar D. Water Law. The last we saw of Law, he had been defeated by Blackbeard, who was also interested, it seems, in Law's powers of immortality, a nice connection to Imu and a furtherance of other connections to the King of the World, as Rox Dizabek wanted that title. And we now know Blackbeard aspires to become a king, not just the Pirate King, maybe. Blackbeard and Rox both seem to share a will of some kind, beyond the will of D. But after his defeat, Law was swept away into the ocean, into the water. The word water matters, as I mentioned on Twitter, and we'll get to that shortly. I've heard many question whether Law even matters to the story anymore. Some claim his character arc is largely over, while forgetting about Law's interest in the will of D, the very will that Imu has been shown to personally despise. Law's checkered fate is still in question. What Oda has planned for one of the most popular favorite characters in terms of One Piece fans really liking Law. I think we all want to see more of him. Just because he was defeated by an emperor once, it doesn't mean it's over. We've seen others bounce back from even worse defeats. Although it does seem like Law was separated from his crew. Law's defeat to Blackbeard was his Sabaody moment. If Law is not meant to become Pirate King, what final purpose will he serve before the story is over? I think the answer to that question lies with Imu, the King of the World, someone who holds the answer to many of the questions Law might have. We first learn that the Will of D carriers are the enemies of the gods via flashback or backstory from Law. This was done deliberately, I believe, that Trafalgar D. Law, like Luffy, is an enemy of the gods. The D people who Corazon told Law are determined to destroy gods or Imu's world. But in Law's case, isn't it interesting that the Gorosei panicked over the inclusion of the middle initial D on Luffy's bounty poster after Wano and the return of Joy Boy and the defeat of Kaido? They never seemed to care about the D name before, even though speaking about it, even though addressing it even with Blackbeard. Isn't it strange, though, that Blackbeard's middle initial D is included on his poster, but it didn't stir panic from the Gorosei? But look at Law's most recent bounty poster. His middle initial, the Will of D, is nowhere to be found. It would appear that the world government does not yet know that Law too carries the Will of D. Does this mean that Imu's condescending words about the descendants of the D clan that are alive today, that Imu's words do not apply to Law, since the gods don't know he too shares that will, the Will of D? Is it not also curious that the antagonistic relationship between Doflamingo and Law seems to foreshadow so much about the end of One Piece, and even Law's potential confrontation against Imu Nerona, beyond the defeat of a heavenly demon cast down into hell, and so Imu cast down from the Holy Land, and potentially into the water below when the Red Line is destroyed. Again, the word water. But looking at Doflamingo's various speeches or statements, Doflamingo told us when talking to Law about the 20 kings, the creators of this world. And on another occasion, Doflamingo told us about Law's Ope Ope no Mi Devil Fruit ability having the power to give a person eternal life, the immortality operation that was likely performed on one of these 20 kings, Imu Nerona. Doflamingo having likely seen Imu, just like Sabo did in the recent chapters, sitting on the empty throne, as well as Wapol from the Drum Kingdom. A strange coincidence of Wapol to drums and the drumming return, the drumming sound of Joy Boy. And so each of them has seen Imu, the king of the world that should not exist. A hidden existence that seems to mirror one other point from Doflamingo when speaking about the throne wars, how the D have been in hiding and would finally show themselves to topple the gods, to drag the celestial dragons down from their undeserving thrones on the Red Line, from their lofty perch, including Imu from the empty throne. All of this in mind, the D that are in hiding, the fact that Law's middle initial D remains hidden from the broader world, with only a few living persons knowing of it, such as Doflamingo and Nico Robin. I can't remember if Law ever spoke to Luffy about his name, the Willow D, and so Law is hidden in a way from Imu's sight, from Imu's ire and anger at the D for whatever reason. And so, when you consider Law's role in the story, do you really think it's over? Do you really think that a character as important to the end of pre-time skip One Piece, a character that saved Luffy's life at the end of Marineford, such that Shanks' words to Kobe about a few seconds of courage, that it changed the world for the better or worse, might also apply to Law and his courage in taking Luffy to safety? The idea of turning the world upside down in Oda's story and various arcs resembling each other, Law's role in that war at the end of Marineford, and a possible role in the final war at the end of One Piece. Law, a character that has caused the world government so much trouble from Punk Hazard and the defeat of Caesar the Clown, to his contribution in the downfall of Big Mom and Kaido. That Law has broken the gears time and time again, with Monkey D. Luffy at his side. The gears of this crooked world are still turning though, because there is one final gear to break. The one responsible for creating the gears in this world to begin with. The one ultimately responsible for destroying Law's hometown of Flevence and killing his family, a destruction that has befallen so many others. Doflamingo was just a pawn in Imu's game, a chess piece to the king. Dofi was just another gear turning. And if Law as a child covered in grenades was really serious about destroying this world as the D-Clan are even said to want to do, then it would make sense that Law would contribute to Imu's defeat and the destruction of the world Imu has built over centuries. Law's full name is known as Trafalgar D. Water Law. As several subscribers or followers on Twitter point out to me, Imu's last name, Nerona, can be interpreted in many ways. Shadow22 told me that the name Nerona or Neron is primarily a male name of Spanish origin that means sea. The sea as in water. Another subscriber called Ronald talked about how Imu calling himself Mu. The word Mu was also derived from the word Mem by Phoenicians and another word by the Egyptians. In both instances, there are written meanings of the hieroglyphic symbol that depicts water. In the last two videos on Imu, we discussed Imu's connection to lost islands that never existed, even though they did, being swallowed by the sea, and how Oda ends chapter 1 with Luffy challenging the very sea itself before he, Luffy, is swept away by the water, though luck saves Luffy somehow. Older theories have tied Imu's name to Umi, and so ocean, sea, or water. Imu Nerona, Nerona, and so Nero. Nero is said to also mean water in Greek, I believe, and so there is a connection to water that lies in both family names, Imu Nerona and Trafalgar D. Water Law. Law's ties to Imu are affirmed by both Water and the Willow D then. They will likely come face to face at some point. Law's epithet as the Surgeon of Death, though he doesn't appear to have really killed anyone major in the story yet. Who knows about Big Mom? She might have survived. But the Surgeon of Death, Law, might contribute to the death of Imu, Nerona. It's widely known now that the bounties or price placed on the devil fruits of two Willow D carriers, the devil fruit abilities of Monkey D. Luffy and Trafalgar D. Law, the Gomu Gomu no Mi and the Ope Ope no Mi, the Sun God or Joy Boy and Immortality, was priced at 5 billion berries each. These powers are threatening to Imu for some reason. Obvious reasons maybe. Two Willow Ds with abilities needed to defeat Imu, likely together. Perhaps the final battle with Imu will go something like this. The same way that Doflamingo was angered when Law told him that the D will always bring another storm. The same way that Luffy and Law would later tag team Doflamingo, with Law using his Ope Ope no Mi powers to not only destroy Doflamingo internally but also switch positions with Luffy so Luffy could land a blow. The weakening of Doflamingo by Law might have contributed to Luffy being able to defeat Doflamingo back then with Gear 4. Perhaps Law will weaken Imu by reversing Imu's immortality so that Luffy can land the final blow, making Imu mortal, a regular human again. And this reminder of Imu's mortality, making Imu a normal human being once more, no longer an immortal god, would be poetic justice, as the celestial dragons fall to the blue sea to join the rest of humankind, as the red line is destroyed. A reminder that Luffy also gave to Doflamingo, who thought himself so much better than others, than the rest of humanity. And so the Surgeon of Death, Law, versus the immortal Imu. A doctor can give you life. A doctor can also take it away. Law is the doctor that will reverse Imu's immortality, perhaps at the cost of his own life. That is Law's checkered fate. Another Will of D carrier that will likely die with a smile, as the final gear of the world is broken. However, I've long believed that Luffy, Law, and Eustace Kid would all meet again and take on world government together. For all we know, Eustace Kid might be a secret D, or Will of D carrier as well, just like the Nefertari D family, or this hint at Sabo being an honorary D since Ace passed that name onto him, as surely as Ace's will burns with Sabo's inheritance of the Marimarinomi. If you noticed, Oda hinted at what Whitebeard said about the D bloodline and a fiery will passed down like a story across the ages, as Sabo attacks Imu directly. A reminder that the flame of D still burns, however hidden its embers might currently be. And so Luffy, Law, and Kid, here's an amazing idea I meant to share 2 years ago at the height of Wano, and completely forgot about. 3D, 2Y. I remember seeing someone post this on Twitter. It might have been Geo_AW, go give him a follow, although he has a lot of followers already, who pointed out on the cover for chapter 1012, I believe it was, of Eustace Kid and how his shirt reads 3D. I think this is an old but little talked about, or scarcely known community theory, maybe subject to ridicule. But what could 3D possibly mean? Does it not remind you of 3D 2Y? 3Ds versus 2 Yonkos. 3D 2Y is in reference to the time skip and the time Luffy would be ready to reunite with his crew. Post-time skip. In this 3D 2Y era, we see Luffy, Law, and Eustace Kid take on Big Mom and Kaido. Could it really be 3Ds versus 2 Yonkos? Mind you, we did not know Law was a Will of D carrier at the time of the beginning of the time skip, even as Law first speaks of the D always bringing another storm in reference to Luffy and Blackbeard after Marineford. Little did we know Law was also referring to himself. Eustace Kid has criticized the Celestial Dragons in the past, during the same arc of Sabo Odi where we meet both Kid and Law, where Luffy punches one of the Celestial Dragon gods to both Kid and Law's surprise, challenging the world, challenging Imu indirectly in that instance. Eustace Kid mentioning that the gods are worse than even the most evil of pirates, making pirates look like saints by comparison. If Imu is the devil, or Sea Devil, the world's ultimate evil, if Imu's world has harmed and taken from Luffy, Law, and Kid in their own way, then wouldn't each of them want to see this world turned upside down too? The original goal of Gold D. Roger, the will of every D that's been passed down to destroy Imu's world. Going back to Law, every D that dies does something grand, something to remember that infamous smile by. Roger's death led to this great new pirate era. Luffy would have never set out to sea to become a pirate, if not for the story of the Pirate King. Roger's son Ace died to save Luffy's life. Luffy would have never gotten this far and caused the world so much trouble, if not for Ace's sacrifice. A sacrifice that coincided with Whitebeard's reminder that the flames, the fires of that bloodline will always endure. The will of D will never cease to be. Dreams are destiny. Perhaps it is Law's destiny to sacrifice his life as well. A checkered fate that ends with Imu. A dream to also turn this world upside down, to destroy the gears, if that is Law's dream. A story that ends with what Nefertari D. Cobra said about raising the flag of dawn. If the will of D is linked to the dawn, the rising sun that will shine a light on Imu's darkness, as if the sun's light was a pirate flag in and of itself. waving in the wind, bright lights flickering in the morning, as those that openly bear the will of D, and those who have hidden away their name, come out into the open, into the light, to reveal what that name truly means. But as usual, we will have to wait and see. Don't forget to like the video, comment with your thoughts below, share this with your friends, and subscribe. Also click the notification bell. And if you have a Twitter, feel free to give me a follow on there as well. Also, make sure to check out that second One Piece channel that I made. That second channel is on the screen, and the links to it will be in the description box and pinned in the comment section below. Red Star dropped a short video on that channel about the will of D that you might enjoy. As always, there is more to come. Until next time.